Welcome to Her Standards with me, Queen Tambori. Thank you so much for joining us for yet another episode of your favorite program, your weekly dose of inspiration. As a matter of fact, this is the program that focuses on women issues and is brought to you by women. Now we have lined up an amazing show for you. But before we go and meet our guests for today, I would like to send a special thank you to our gracious host. Today, this beautiful location is actually Tamarind by Tree Hotel on Langata Road. You need to come here and experience the best customer service, the ambience, and there's so much more. You have to come and experience it yourself. Now, are you ready to meet our guest for today? Well, come with me. Let's go and find out who she is. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
I was saying, this is me telling the world who you are.
Yes.
But I want you to tell the world who you are in your own words.
Okay.
Yeah, this is your professional life, but who is Caroline Kagia?
Caroline Kagia is first and foremost a born-again Christian. I am also a mom to 2 children. I have a 17-year-old and a 7-year-old. Apart from that, I'm also a daughter. I am a sibling, I'm an auntie, I'm a friend, I'm a mentor. I'm all those things packaged into one. Yeah. And then when it comes to my professional life, like you mentioned, I'm an addictions professional. And addictions counseling is something I took up after my journey and my struggle with alcoholism for close to 20 years of my life. And like you mentioned, I also formed Caroline Kagia Wellness Initiative. And this was birthed out of my own pain and my struggles with the same for a very long time. So I formed that initiative to help people who are struggling with, like you said, chemical and process addiction.
Before you explain what the two mean, are you on social media?
Yes, I'm on social media.
You can face the camera.
I am on social media. My Facebook handles are Caroline Kagia, and then my other Facebook page is Caroline Kagia Wellness Initiative. On LinkedIn, I am Caroline Kagia. On YouTube, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Speak Out with Caroline Kagia. TikTok, Caroline Kagia 1. Yes, those are my social media.
Social media handles. So if you have any questions, you have any comments, if you want to talk to our guests, you want to talk to us, please engage us on KTN Home on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm also available as Queen Tambori on the same socials, and of course you can talk to our guests directly. We like to engage you in real time. Tell us what you think about the show, tell us what you think about the guests, and also tell us if you feel there are women we need to profile on this show. So Caroline, you've mentioned so many things. I don't know where to start.
In a short time.
Yeah, because you said you battled addiction for close to 20 years.
Yeah.
Hold that thought.
Right.
We'll come back there. When you say chemical and process addiction, maybe you can just distinguish that, and then we can move on to the conversation. Yes.
There are 2 types of addictions. There's chemical addiction, that is drugs and alcohol. There's process addiction, which does not deal with chemicals, but it deals with things like pornography, masturbation, gambling. Those are what are called the process addictions. They have nothing to do with drugs, but they still, there's a chemical in the brain called dopamine. So they still play around with that chemical called dopamine, only that this time you're in pornography or you're in masturbation or gambling, but you're not using alcohol and drugs. That's the difference.
Is that where the addiction to makeup also falls under process?
Yes, it also, anything that does not touch alcohol or drugs falls under process addiction. Food, name it, food, sex, all those things.
As long as there's no drug.
As long as there's no alcohol or drug involved. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So 20 years in battling addiction, how was that? Or where did it start?
It started at the age of 19.
Yeah.
This is right after high school. Because after high school, I got the privilege to do Form 5 and 6 in a school that was somewhere around, but it no longer exists.
Yeah.
So for me, what started as fun times just became something that went beyond fun times, because that's where most people start. You know, you get into alcohol, you get into smoking or drugs, or you know, you do it for fun, for experimentation purposes. Yeah. And very few people are able to draw the line, I being one of them. And so it reached a point where it almost killed me. And the turnaround came when I checked into rehab. But the journey between 19 and checking into rehab at the age of 37 was quite a long time. Eh?
You checked into rehab after the 20 years?
No. I checked into rehab in 2017. I was 37 at the time. Yeah. But it was in between that time that I checked into rehab, when I had hit rock bottom. For me, I had to hit rock bottom because I'm very strong-headed. But for me to go into rehab, and for me, I went in voluntarily. I had reached a point of it was either do or die. For me, that's where I had reached. And so I voluntarily checked into rehab. And I thank God for, there's a man who has walked me through that journey, apart from my dad. His name is Robert Wanderi, and he's been my therapist for the longest time until now. And he's with the Living Hope Treatment Center. And that's the guy who we work with until today. Because you see, even after you come out of rehab, that doesn't mean that the addiction stops there. Recovery is a lifelong process. And so for me, for as long as I'm on this earth, I am still vulnerable to falling back, which is what we call relapse. So I always have to have accountability partners. And Robert has really worked with me throughout this journey. Another man who's worked with me throughout this journey is my dad. If there's a guy who refused to give up on me, it was that guy. That man called Mr. James Awero refused to give up on his daughter. That time I've done everything you can imagine. I have sold his things, I've sold his laptops. A laptop he had even gone to the US to buy, another one he had sent me to Dubai to buy. And selling them not because I want to sell. You know the way you give things to a Shylock and you're unable to pay on time. So the Shylock has to get rid of these things, So for me, my addiction took me to depths untold. There are things they say that it's only men who do, like selling stuff in the house. Yeah. Me, I sold, and I sold everything you can imagine that can be sold in a house, apart from my TV, because it was that one for the Kamgongo. So that one, and,
analog.
And yeah, that one. And of course, I needed something to watch as I imbibe, because I became a closet drinker, whereby I drink in the house.
Wait, you were addicted to, what drugs were you addicted to? What were you addicted to?
I was doing alcohol and cigarettes. In fact, I did cigarettes longer than I did alcohol. Cigarettes, I would do up to 40 sticks a day. And that is when I'm not drinking. So you can imagine when I'm drinking, it becomes worse.
Those are like how many packets?
Those are 2 packets, because a packet has 20 sticks.
Okay.
When I was in Malaysia, because after I did Form 5 and 6, I got the privilege of going to Malaysia. I toyed around with marijuana, but we had a complicated relationship. So I left it. Work, yeah. But I stuck to cigarettes for a very long time. And funny enough, I quit cigarettes faster than I quit alcohol. It works differently for most people. Most people quit alcohol first, then they quit cigarettes. But for me, I quit cigarettes first, then I quit alcohol. So it's been quite a journey. It's been quite a journey.
You know, when you talk about addiction, the picture that people have is probably someone who is drunk, maybe is in the trenches, he's looking messed up. Maybe in your own words, can you describe what was going on in your mind? Why did you have that constant urge to quench whatever it was? What was really driving you to the point of even selling things in your house? What was that frustration like? For people who probably are wondering what addiction is, they're having a hard time understanding.
First, I could probably start by giving a simple definition of what addiction is. Addiction is a recurring brain disorder. Okay. You see, it affects your brain. And it's a form of madness, if I can call it that. Because now when I'm sober, when I look back at some of the things I did in my addiction, I can't believe it was me. You know, things like, you even pee on yourself, and you've peed on yourself, but you still move on with life. Sleeping in the trenches, okay, I never did that, but at least, you know, the other
people who do that.
The other people who do that. Yeah. Addiction is something that, as much as we try to explain it, even professionally, it's beyond explanation. Sometimes I choose to think it's more of a spiritual thing. At some time I thought I was genetically predisposed, because there's also that. There are some families in which addiction or alcoholism runs. But now that I have been through addiction and I'm in recovery for quite some time now, I realize it was not genetic predisposition. For me, I had underlying issues that I was trying to deal with. You know, stuff from my childhood. I had a very low self-esteem growing up.
Why?
It was just my upbringing, I would say, at some point. There was just something a bit off in the way we were raised. And I didn't know that I had carried some of these things in my subconscious. So I came to battle with them now in my later years, when I knew I could try and handle it. And I didn't know that by getting into alcohol, that was my way of trying to hide whatever I had nursed for so many years. And that is what happens with many people. Unfortunately, most of us start and are unable to come out. So now you keep looking, now it becomes an excuse. Oh, because this and this happened to me, I had this traumatic experience. Okay, fine. If you had a traumatic experience, seek therapy. You know, now you have to be proactive instead of being reactive. But most of us, we are reactive. Oh, my mother did this to me when I was 3 years old. Oh, my auntie looked at me badly. So now you start looking for excuses. And now those excuses are what turn into an addiction that you can't come out of. Let me tell you something, Queen. Most of the people who are struggling with any sort of addiction, whether it is chemical or process, started as a joke. And now they're in a place where they can't come out. But you're so ashamed that you don't even know how to address this issue. I was one of those people. Me, I used to hide in my Mara this. There's always a reason to drink, you know. And in addiction, when you do addiction counseling, you learn that there are different stages in addiction. There's experimentation, where you do it for fun times. Me and you are just having fun. You know, we are young, let's experiment with this thing. Then it becomes habitual. You know, it becomes compulsive. Okay, there's a party, let's go. Yeah. Then from compulsive, it moves to habitual. Now there's always a reason. Oh, my cat died. Oh, the neighbor's cow died. Oh, there's a birthday. My niece is turning 6 months. You know, there's always a reason to drink. And before you know it, you started spiraling. By the time you reach the habitual stage whereby there's always a reason to drink, even if it was your neighbor who you never knew who has died. You'll drink to that. Yeah, you'll drink to that. By the time you reach that habitual stage, you're spiraling downwards. And many people don't realize there's a very thin line between the habitual and the addiction stage. Very thin, by the way. It's like the relationship between love and hate. There's a very thin line. It's a fine line. So me, by the time I reached the addiction stage, I didn't know. By the time I was getting into habitual, many people had started telling me, "Hey, Caro, when you drink so fast." Me, I didn't understand what that means. Me and you, see, we are with you. You're on your first drink, me, I'm on my third. And for me, it's nothing. But people are like, and you drink so fast. So I started hiding. So I'll go, if we're meeting with you, I'll go somewhere, I drink quickly, so that by the time we meet, we are on the same page. Oh my God. But me, I'm already ahead. And that's how most people get into addiction, without knowing. By the way, nobody knows when they are sinking into addiction.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about, because I know there are different types of drinkers, if you allow me to call them. Your addiction was alcohol. So the people who say, I'm just a casual drinker. Yeah, many of us, we identify as casual drinkers. And then, of course, now we say the people who are alcoholics. And of course, there are many other levels, as you have mentioned. And then there's that fine gray line between alcoholism and just being sober. Yeah. So what are those telltale signs? How can you know that nimekunywa and now I need to seek help? Yeah, this one is not normal. I need to talk to someone. Okay. Yeah, because there has to be something. Because I know that there's that gene that predisposes people to alcoholism.
Yes.
Yeah. So in case someone they think they're casual drinkers, but something is actually amiss, how can you tell? Yeah.
There's normally a test I ask people to do, and it's called the Cage test. C-A-G-E.
Yeah.
Cage. C stands for cut down. Have you tried to cut down on your drinking and been unable? A stands for anger or angry. Have you been angry at yourself, or have people been angry at you because of your levels of drinking? G stands for guilt. Do you feel guilty every time you go to open or to take a drink or to sip? Do you feel guilty? And E stands for eye opener, in short, kutoa lock. Do you find yourself having to have a drink in the morning because last night the stuff you did, my friend, if you don't have alcohol in your body in the morning, you might not function, you might start seeing the moon and the sun is out, you get? So if you fit into any of those four letters, then there's a problem. You are borderline alcoholic. Whether you like it or not, you are borderline alcoholic. There are some people who are able to have 1-2 drinks all the days of their lives and they go home, but not majority of people. And unfortunately, with COVID, things became worse. People started drinking from home. You remember that now bars were closed, so guys started ordering alcohol and then they started drinking at home. Now that became worse. Now you're drinking in the comfort of your house as you watch your Netflix, as you watch your movies. Kumbe, you don't know you're sinking slowly and slowly deeper into alcoholism. Many people started with beers. Then they realized the tolerance levels, meaning your level, your intake level is going up. They moved from beers to, now you cheat yourself, wine. I don't know why people say wine. Wine is alcohol, by the way. Wine is stronger than beer. Okay.
What to a wine?
Wine. Yeah? From wine, you're like, ay, apana, vodka. But now your tolerance levels are just
going up,
shifting, and before you know it, you're an alcoholic. Me, I'm telling you, the number of people I know to date who never used to drink prior to COVID, now they are carrying alcohol in their bags. In their bags, when they go for tea break, vodka, you know vodka doesn't have a smell, sorry if I'm breaking news. Vodka has no smell, so in your coffee break, you feel good. You go back to the office after 10 o'clock, 10:30, you're smiling. People are wondering, kumbe, your body is busy. The system is busy. And many people have sunk into alcoholism, especially women. Especially women. One of the reasons I also formed Caroline Kagia Wellness Initiative is because of women. I being one of them. Me, I was ready, and I'm still ready until today, to be thrown at stones. But I always say, you throw stones at me, I build houses with them. And I champion for women because there are so many women in this country and beyond, especially in Africa, who are struggling with alcoholism. But they don't come out and speak. Why? Because in Africa, an African woman who is an alcoholic must be a prostitute. You are of loose morals. Yet you are not. Me, I was not a prostitute. Me, I just loved my drink. Me, I loved my drink until if I could shower with it, I would. That's how much I loved my alcohol. But so many are struggling and they're not willing to speak. So I choose to see myself as the voice for women in Africa, the voice of women in recovery in Africa, to tell them that it's okay to come out and speak out. Alcoholism is just like diabetes or cancer. Come out and speak about it. If you hide in your closet, you will die in your closet. And so many are dying. And then in the obituaries it's written short illness. There was no short illness. You had suffered for a long time.
That is Caroline Kagia. She is the founder of Caroline Kagia Wellness Initiative. She is a recovering alcoholic, but of course, she's also a very strong advocate for women who are addicted to alcohol. This is Her Standards with me, Quinton, where we want to take a short break. Just before we go, please take this opportunity to take the Cage test, where C stands for cut down, A stands for anger, G stands for guilt, and E stands for eye opener. How are you faring in terms of the Cage test? Do you feel like you need to seek help? Maybe not. Do you know somebody who needs to seek help? Take this opportunity, take the Cage test, and we wouldn't really mind sharing some of that feedback with us. We are available at KTN Home, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can also talk to our guest, Caroline Kagia. She's even on TikTok. You can also engage me directly at Queen Tambori on Facebook, Instagram, and also on Twitter. Remember, the beautiful location where we are hanging out with the amazing, inspirational guest of today is the tamarind tree in Langata, along Langata Road. Remember, you can always reach out to us, tell us what you think about the show, and we would be extremely glad to get back to you. Don't go far, we'll be right back after a few minutes. Welcome back to Her Standards with me, Queen Tambori. Today I am hanging out with the beautiful, inspirational Caroline Kagia. She is the founder of Caroline Kagia Wellness Initiative that is all about taking care of women who are suffering any form of addiction. You know, one thing I like about this show is the fact that we talk about real issues and we bring to you people who are facing real problems in this life, but not just that, we try and come up with solutions. So I'm just glad that we're having this conversation today. Karibu sana, Caroline, welcome back.
Thank you.
You know, how long have you been sober?
I would say continuous sobriety, 2 years.
Continuous, no alcohol, no cigarette, no nothing?
No cigarettes, I can say that one is 5 years clean.
Oh.
Yeah. But alcohol, you know, I've not talked about it in a while, but I had a lapse when COVID began.
Oh my God.
And this is the first time I'm declaring it on a platform actually. So I had a lapse when COVID began. But I thank God for that lapse. It opened my eyes and it made me realize overconfidence in sobriety is a no-no. I remember when I left rehab, my counselor had told me that I'm overconfident.
Okay.
And I looked at him, those sons of, yeah. Then when COVID hit, and I remember I'd been invited to go and speak in the US, everything was being catered for, then COVID hit, I sank into depression and I lapsed. I can't believe I've actually said this. Wow, it was time. Yeah, so I lapsed. And it was crazy. I couldn't believe it was me. But then I realized that this lapsing did not just happen then. I had been lapsing even before, as in like, you know, it starts in the mind.
In the mind,
By the time you actually go physically and take that drink, it had already happened way before. So by the time I actually went to the store and got konyagi, 750 ml, and I sat down with it, I knew I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. And funny enough, the first person again to catch it was my dad. Your dad? He was in shock beyond, you know. And so for me, I would say it's been 2 years continuous sobriety. And for me, that was a lesson. I pinched myself. There's a saying we say in Kikuyu, you pinch yourself in the ear. I pinched myself. You pinched yourself. I said, never again. Never be overconfident. You need a support system. If you're in recovery, that's why you should never call yourself you're recovered. You're never recovered. You're in recovery for life. I know people who've been sober for 10 years, and then something hits like this, and you're back to zero. Imagine being sober for 10 years, and then you're back to zero. Not that you're drinking just kidogo, you're even worse than where you started. It's a very bad place. So for me, it humbled me, and I saw this thing, you take it baby steps. Baby steps. Yeah.
We'll talk about your dad. I hope you can get time to talk about him because you talk passionately about him. You seem to be like a daddy's girl. Are you?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah. How was it growing up with him?
He's always been my friend. Yeah. Always. Always been my friend. Always been my go-to person. Even when we argue, we can't argue for long. Yeah. It's always been like that.
It's always been like that. Yeah. Now, before we took a break, you mentioned something about women suffering in silence. I tried to look for statistics. Unfortunately, one of the main challenges we face on this show is actually finding statistics that are gendered. It is very rare to find those statistics. I was trying to find out how the number of women who are suffering addiction, not just in Kenya, but also in the region. And true story, I couldn't find it. And possibly one of the reasons that the statisticians were giving, or the content that I was looking at was saying, is that women are not ready to speak out, the ones who are suffering addiction. As a matter of fact, some statistics I got on the website that whereas men are more likely to abuse illicit drugs and alcohol, that is at around 11.5%, that is boys and men over 12 years. Some even have a substance disorder. Women, that figure comes down to around 6.4%. But there's a disclaimer that women are more likely to go to the emergency room or fatally overdose due to substance abuse. Why do you think that is so, Caroline?
Why do I think what is so?
Why do you think women are more predisposed to facing the consequences of alcoholism?
Because of the way we are wired.
Yeah.
God made us very different from men. Starting with our reproductive system.
Yeah.
Apart from our reproductive system, even our tolerance for alcohol is much lower because of the water content in our bodies. You see? We have less water content than men. So men can drink, you and I, okay. A man and I can drink on the same table, but I'll get higher faster. You know, because of his water content in his body is quite different from the water content in mine. And the fat, the body mass also in terms of fats. You know, so the fats in his body can absorb more alcohol than the fats in my body. That's one thing. The other thing also is our reproductive health. We're just not wired that way. We're just not wired that way, imagine. It's just not.
You should just keep off.
It's just, God just did not make us that way. It's that simple.
Yeah.
God just did not make us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say has been your lowest point in terms of your journey recovering or going through alcoholism? What has been some of your lowest point when you felt like I have had it?
Well, one, I'll start by talking about my reproductive health. At least I have had 2 miscarriages.
I'm so sorry.
Back to
2
back.
miscarriages?
Yes, back to back because of alcohol. And as if the first one should have stopped me, I still ended up getting pregnant again and still had a miscarriage. And the first one was so bad because I remember when I got pregnant with the father of my daughter, we were both broke. So I stayed with a bleeding fetus for 1 month in my body, a whole month.
Oh my God.
So by the time we were going to the doctor was like, how are you even alive? How are you even alive?
By the way, how are you even alive?
God. And now I can laugh about it. He couldn't believe I was alive. He has asked, you've had this thing for how long? So yeah, that one ended. Then the second one came. Then after that, at the age of 35, I got intentional about getting a child. So lo and behold, my daughter came. And it's not like I was 100% clean with her, but I tried. And I thank God for her. So that was one of my lowest points, I would say. In fact, I think that was probably my lowest point. Yeah. Was having 2 miscarriages.
2 miscarriages back to back. That must have really taken a toll on you.
Yeah.
What do you wish people who are sober would know about addiction and alcoholism?
I wish people would know that nobody chooses to be an alcoholic, number one. I used to be those people who used to laugh at people when you see somebody on the road. You know, like, see, they can stop if they want. Once I'm saying it's nearing. See, they can stop if they want. Until I became one of them.
Oh my God.
Whereby I'm like, I'll be clean for a week, and I'm thinking, wow, I've done it. And then when I go back full throttle. What is called binge drinking, where you drink and drink and drink, then you stop, then you start again, then you stop. And we have many people like that who drink, stop, drink, stop. So I was one of those, but then now for me now it became full blown, whereby by the time you're even selling your stuff, Queen, you're in trouble.
In a lot of trouble.
So I wish people would know that nobody chooses to be an alcoholic, number one. 2, I wish people would know that, especially parents who hide their children who are struggling with alcoholism or any sort of addiction, that hiding your loved one is killing them. Seek help for them. And this is something I always speak about so loudly. There is no shame in bringing out your person and seeking help for them. I'll give you an example. I had a client in one of the leafy suburbs of this Nairobi. And those people, the clients, or rather her parents, were people of the church.
Yeah.
And so they used to tell me, oh, okay, come and console her in the house and whatever. She had come in from the States, she was depressed, so she used to drink a lot where they used to live. So now the mom decides, okay, since we don't want shame, we'll be buying for her alcohol in the house.
Yeah.
So they used to send the security to bring for her alcohol. And this girl told me with her own mouth, tell these people I need help. I want to go for treatment. The parents could afford it. I sat down with the parents for a very long time and I told them, this girl wants help. Stop hiding her in the house. In our last meeting, she told me, Kara, I'm going to die in this house. The day the mother called me, the mother was just screaming on the phone and I knew what had happened. I just disconnected. Later I heard she died, she was found with a bottle of alcohol at her bed. And when she was done post-mortem, it was liver cirrhosis.
Oh my God.
So this thing of hiding your people in the house because you don't want to be laughed at by your neighborhood, by the way, your neighborhood already knows that your person is in trouble. That's how it goes. Me, when I came out of rehab, when I first came out with my story publicly, people were like, and we used to suspect. So I'm like, so why didn't you tell me?
Why didn't you say something about it?
But
yeah.
we didn't know, we were not sure, but we used to think. Don't think. If you think somebody has a problem, confront them. You'd rather bring it out in the open than wait to see the person in the obituaries, then start saying, I wish I knew. That's another, that thing bores me, by the way, because there's no point of hiding. It doesn't matter who it is. Speak out and get help for them.
Speak out and
so there's no shame.
There's no shame.
There's no shame. Alcoholism is for real, and especially amongst women, it's growing like crazy in leaps and bounds because of all the stresses that we are facing. It's not that men are not facing them, but for women, it has reached a point where this thing has mushroomed to the point of it should almost be called a national disaster, to be very honest. Yeah. And the more women we have like me who will speak out about it, the more we'll be able to come out. There's an article I wrote in one of the magazines, an international magazine, and I shared my story. And the women who checked into my inbox, it was ridiculous. Then I was asking, why can't you just come out and seek help? But I'm ashamed. My husband doesn't know. In my head, I'm like, your husband doesn't know that you drink. You live in the same house. That's in my head. You see? I don't want my mother to know. I don't want... But that's how you end up dying. Yeah. That's how you end up dying. So I wish people would know that this thing is for real. And alcoholism is not something of kujiekelea. For those who are watching from the diaspora, it's not something you put on yourself. It's something that grows with time. But nobody wishes to be an addict. That's for sure. Nobody wishes to be a porn addict. Nobody wishes to be a gambler. Nobody wishes to be a masturbator. No one wishes to be an addict of any kind. It catches up with us.
It does. It does. I know that there are two activities that you're already doing in order to help the society cope with addiction and alcoholism. You have the social media platform, Caroline Kagia Initiative Wellness, and of course, towards the end of the year, you hope that you can create a platform where people, women, men, can come and speak about their addiction and support each other.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, gosh, thanks for putting me on the spot. Right.
I am putting you on the spot.
God willing, in October, I should be holding a conference called Speak Out with Caroline Kagia, whereby I'll bring in speakers who I know are solid and have gone through the process and are willing to share their story to especially women. I'm targeting women for this conference. And of course, we'll have psychologists and psychiatrists who will be able to walk women through this, their issues. Yeah. So I'll be speaking more about it as the days progress. Yeah. And it should be something to look forward to.
Something to look forward to.
It will be big.
Yeah, in case somebody wants to partner with you, or they have a story they want to share with you, or this is the platform. Yeah. Talk about it. Where can you be reached? How can they get hold of you? How can they partner with you?
You can reach me, I would say first, I would give my email address also.
We can ask the producer to put it as a scroll at the bottom.
Caroline Kagia 07 at gmail.com or on Caroline Kagia Wellness Initiative. That's my Facebook page, and also on LinkedIn, Caroline Kagia. I'm looking for Well, now you put it out in the open. I'm looking for people to partner with me to finance this conference, because I know it will be big. So I'm looking for local and international sponsors, and people will work together with, because this thing is going to be big. I intend to start with it here, but God willing, next year, who knows? We could go into a different country, because like I said, and this is with all humility, I am the voice for women in recovery in Africa. But God is taking me global. So I want to partner with as many people as possible to take this thing forward. People who have a vision and a passion for women who are struggling with addiction. Let's join hands and let's move this together.
Let's move this together.
Yeah.
When are we going to read your book, Caroline? Give us a timeline. When we started this year, actually, one of the shows that we had was on creating vision boards, and all these people, the cameraman, my producer, the makeup, the squad, they can attest to that. So I feel like somebody needs to read more about you, because you've done a couple of interviews, you create YouTube content. But if you want to hide secrets, someone once said that if you want to hide secrets, you put it in a book.
Oh, yeah?
I'm sure there are still things that you still have some things up your sleeves. So when are we going to read this book about Caroline Kagia? Wow. When is it coming out? Claim it.
I claim it for this year.
Yeah.
Yes, I claim it for this year. There's a lot I want to do this year, Queen, now that you put me on the spot. There's a lot I want
this
to do.
This is her standards. You're setting very high standards here.
Yes, and I have very high standards for myself, and I give God all the glory for that.
Yeah.
Branding for me is a very big thing. Branding of Caroline as a brand, because indeed I am a brand.
Yeah.
So branding in terms of everything, websites, everything that builds Caroline as a brand.
Yeah.
I'm looking for people who are seeing my vision, who will push me from behind and work with me and hold my hand. And are they called divine helpers, destiny helpers?
Yeah, destiny helpers.
Those are the ones I'm looking for. Those who have been following me, because I know there are people who've been following me and they can see my dream and they can see my passion. Those are the people who I'm looking for to help me build this dream, to help me write my book, to help me publish my book. Selling my book, I'll sell. I'm a salesperson. I can sell you even you the way you're seated there. I can sell you right now. But I'm looking for people who can see what I am and push me to the next level. That's what I'm looking for. My financiers, my brand builders, those are the people I'm looking for. And I'm grateful for this platform. Who knows, they might come from this platform.
You never know. If you're watching, of course, and you can hear Caroline's plea, she has a vision, a grand one. She has events, she has publications to do, and she's actually looking for you to come and partner with her and build this brand and, of course, reach many women. Remember, this is her standards, the show where we connect, we empower, but we also influence. So let's work together, let's move together to ensure that we have an addiction-free nation.
And especially for women, anyone who is interested in reaching out to women, those are the people I'm looking for. Those are the people I'm looking for. There's a lot to be done, not only in this country, but on this continent and the world over. The woman's voice needs to be heard. And I am that voice. So anyone who is willing to partner with me, let's do this. Let's help as many. We can't help everybody, but we can help as many as possible. Yeah.
Good stuff. Now that you've mentioned about women, there are homes where the person who is suffering alcoholism or addiction is a wife. What would you tell the spouse or the family of such a person?
Of who?
The woman who is suffering alcoholism or addiction, because there are homes when, you know, in the African context, people assume that some diseases like alcoholism should only affect the men. You know. But then there is this case, because you said alcoholism does not choose.
It's not a respect of gender.
It does not respect gender. So there are homes where the woman is the one who is affected, and it is already out there. It is in the open. So what would you want to tell the family and the support system of that woman who is suffering alcoholism or addiction?
Seek help for her. Seek help for her. But also, as you seek help for her, it is important to set your boundaries. You know, she's your wife, she's your mother, but there should also be boundaries. You know why? Because addicts or alcoholics are also very manipulative people. You see? Now, addicts are very manipulative people. We are borderline narcissists. Is it called narcissists? Yeah, we are borderline narcissists. You know, I will make you look like the bad person, and that's why I'm drinking. You understand? So now, like in such a setting, it's the children who suffer. Yeah? It's the husband who suffers. Of course, the children are suffering. You think children don't know that there's something wrong? Mommy is behaving a bit weird. She's talking a bit funny. She's sleeping too much. She's not cooking for us. She's not spending time with us. The kids are affected. And sooner or later, these kids will come to know. That's number one. The husband is also affected. So now, the husband, if that woman comes from if she's married, for the sake of his family, he should seek help, because this thing will have a ripple effect. Not only is he affected, but the effects go down to the children. They should get therapy for this lady, whether it's voluntary or involuntary. And that I mean is, if she has to go to rehab, let her go to rehab. Let her be taken to rehab. But there another thing about rehab. Rehab does not have to be voluntary.
Oh.
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
People say it has to be voluntary. Voluntary.
Yeah.
You might not volunteer until the day you die. Then it will be too late.
So what happens now?
Sometimes you just have to be taken in. Then when the alcohol wears off the body, your head will clear.
You think so?
Yes. I don't think so. I know so. Yeah. Once you've been taken through the detox, that's a whole story for another day. But once your blood is clean, your head is able to think. And if you're a woman with a good head, you'll remember you have children at home and you have a husband at home who are waiting for you. So in a setting whereby it is the wife who is drinking, the man should not hesitate to seek help for this woman. Imagine there is no shame. I'll not stop singing this song. There is no shame. People will laugh, but even the people who are laughing have other issues. It's only that their issues are not written here. You know, for you as an addict or for me as an addict, mine is written here. Oh, Carol. But for you, you have your issues with anger, with pride, with bitterness, with resentment, with jealousy. Those are not written, but mine are written. So even for that one with a spouse that is suffering, please seek help for her. Just seek help. Reach out and seek help. Of course, she will be in denial because that's the first step. Yeah. Yeah. But denial is it's there. It's a must. It will happen. But sooner or later, if she has a good head on her shoulders, things will fall in. Things will fall in place. Before it's too late. For the sake of her family. Yeah.
We're about to finish, Carol. What is the cost of taking someone through the recovery process of addiction?
Through the
recovery process of addiction.
Like,
what is the cost?
Like through rehab?
Yes, rehab, and of course the consecutive therapy sessions and counseling.
It depends. Rehabs vary. You can get it depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah.
We have rehabs from as low as 30,000 to as much as 600,000. It depends on your budget. But one thing I always say about rehabs, and I'm not ashamed to say it, majority of the rehabs in this country are just business. Less than 10% are legit. And the legit ones, before you take someone to rehab, you need to think and you need to do your research. People complain, oh, I took this person to rehab and they relapsed. Yeah. Then this one. Did you do your research? Or did you just take somebody to rehab? Did you do your research? Research is important. And then, of course, after that, there's something called aftercare. Aftercare is where we do the therapy sessions, whereby you go for, consultation can run anything from 2,000 up, depending on the kind of therapist you're seeing. Yeah. For me, I charge 2,500
a session.
Yeah.
And you're certified, of course.
And I'm certified. Oh, yes, I am certified by the support of Addiction Prevention and Treatment in Africa.
In Africa.
Yeah.
But do you say?
You
didn't tell me you had the jungle blood in you.
Oh, it is there. It is there.
Anyway, Caroline, what does the future look like for you? Okay, you told me about the dream car.
Oh, yes. That one is coming this year. Are you hearing, people? It is coming. But apart from that, I want to take this dream of mine to the nations. Yeah. And as far as God is my witness, it's going to go to the nations. I'm going to the nations, and I'm going to speak this message of recovery for women to the nations. And as I mentioned in the beginning, Jesus Christ is Lord, And with Jesus on my side, everything is
You are unstoppable. You're
I
fearless.
am unstoppable. I am fearless. Taking it to the nations in Jesus' name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you. We can confirm that this is juice
This
and
is
water.
not vodka.
We are preaching water and drinking
water. Yes.
Thank you so much, girl.
You're welcome.
I'm so inspired.
Same here.
I can see you have a bright future. Please go for it. Thank you for inspiring this generation with your story. Thank you for inspiring women. And thank you, of course, for gracing us with your wonderful presence on Her Standards.
I am glad to be here. It was such a pleasure, such a joy. I wish we could do it again.
We can do it again.
Yeah.
We will be glad to come to your conference. We'll be glad to launch your book. We know we hold people accountable.
Thank you.
So I am sure one day you will meet Grace. I'm sure Grace has taken note of all of that and you're very excited. Grace Oweru is my producer. She's my boss. She's an amazing, amazing producer. Unfortunately, what has a beginning must come to an end. I want to send a special shout out to the Glam Squad. My crown is courtesy of Posh Palace. My girl, Susan, thank you so much for making me look beautiful. Enkaya Designs, of course, is the producer or gives me the bling, as you can see. Thank you so much. That is a brand that is made and sold in Kenya. So do not hesitate to check them out on social media. Of course, Willie Collins does my wonderful makeup and I'm always dressed by Maridadi by Queen. Now from us here at KTN Home, the entire crew, the production, and everybody else who you cannot see on the camera because of course they're sitting behind the camera. It is a big thank you and so much from the bottom of our hearts for keeping us company and of course for keeping up with Her Standards, the show that celebrates women and the show that is all about giving you inspiration that connects you, influences you, and empowers you with stories about women. Remember, the conversation doesn't stop here. Let us engage further on social media, on KTN Home, at Queen Tambori, and of course, you can also talk to our guest at Caroline Kagia. Thank you so much and see you next time.